Hi everyone, and welcome back to Graduate Career Launchpad. I'm Simon Gibson, Graduate Recruitment Director here at Prospel, and today we're doing something a little bit different. So rather than hearing from a recruitment manager, we're going to hear from a recruiter. Sorry, rather than hearing from a recruiter about a graduate program looks like, we're going straight to the source, a grad who's living it and doing it right now. I'll introduce Nawid in a second, but Nawid is working at John Holland, one of Australia's most iconic construction and infrastructure companies. So a little bit about John Holland. They've been transforming the Australian landscape since 1949, when Sir John Holland founded the company in Woolshed in rural Victoria. So from that, they've grown to over 6,000 employees, delivering some great projects like the Sydney Metro, Melbourne Metro, Kidston Pump Storage Hydro Project in Queensland. Now we might talk a bit about what he's working on at the moment at the PA Hospital here in Brisbane as well. But John Holland is the kind of place where you can genuinely see and touch the impact of your work in the world around you. Mate, very excited to have you on board today and join the podcast and sharing your insights with everybody watching. I'd like to introduce Nawid Aarman, civil engineer, graduate at John Holland. Mate, thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for giving up your time. I can see you're on site there, so probably very busy, but really keen just to pick your brains and learn a bit more about your background, why you chose civil engineering, and obviously the process of coming into John Holland and being a graduate. But firstly, thanks very much for coming along.
Oh, thank you so much, Simon. Glad to be here. And
Excellent. No worries. Well, mate, we'll first sort of jump into it. Just tell us a bit about a bit about yourself and your journey into John Holland.
Sure. I originally did my civil engineering degree in Afghanistan. That's where I'm from. And after moving to Australia about 5 years ago, I had to do a refresher course for over 2 years just to get my knowledge aligned with the Australian standards. And that's how my journey began into engineering in Australia. And with John Holland, after moving to Australia, I wanted to get back in the field because I had some gaps in between when I was working in Afghanistan, did some engineering, and then had some other stuff to do due to circumstances. But after moving here, I wanted to get back to engineering and through some research and Multicultural Australia mentorship, I was given a chance to go to John Holland and do a undergraduate program at the same time when I was studying. I did an undergraduate program for over a year, and then after completion of my studies, I was given an opportunity to start with the graduate program. Obviously, I had to go through all formalities and put up the application and interviews and assessment and all that. That's how I got in.
Yeah, very cool. I'll come back to that undergrad. I've got a question about that in a second. Take a step further, a step back in the past, I should say. What made you choose civil engineering? Obviously, there's lots of different paths of engineering that you can go down, but why civil engineering?
Well, engineering, that was something I was very interested into from a very young age. I think I like the numbers and maths and, how things were built. So I think the engineering was a good fit for what I was looking for. So yeah, I was very keen into it from a very young age.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And you mentioned you're working as an undergrad while you're completing your studies. So is that something, were you working full time and studying part time, or vice versa? How did that structure look?
Yeah, it was. I was doing 3 units out of 4 units, which 4 units are full, 4 and 3 units are my full time study. I was doing 3 units, but I was still working 2 to 3 days a week as an undergrad. But obviously during the school holidays and the university and stuff, I would do more days.
We have more. Yeah. Okay. And what sort of work were you doing as an undergrad?
So undergrad, it's very some very basic stuff. So because you don't have much knowledge, I would do some markups. I would do some safety issues, stuff that go to the site, and do some supervision and do some site coordination, and obviously doing lots of meeting minutes and stuff. Yeah, but it was more learning than contributing to the project.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And was that a paid position, or
Yeah,
so
it
it was
was
half?
paid. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And mate, you mentioned that. So obviously, working as an undergrad, did you say for about a year or so? You then decided to apply for the actual graduate program. What was that recruitment process like for you?
So for me, probably a little bit different because I had the undergraduate position prior to applying to graduate program, but obviously a bit nervous, still a bit nervous. Jumping out from undergraduate to graduate, expectations goes high. Still had to go through the formal applications and do the assessments and interviews before I get into it. Yeah, so it was good, challenging, obviously, but I think the way that I prepared for myself was like, hey, this is the time. You're undergrad, don't be shy, challenge yourself, go ask heaps of questions, and that's what exactly I did. Also, I knew some of the graduates from the early years, and I kind of had an idea how it looked like, but I still had to prepare myself and ask all those questions.
Okay, so even though you're essentially like an inside, you had the inside scoop because you're already working there as an undergrad, you still had to go through that proper process of preparing for a formal interview, and going through
Absolutely.
the steps. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
I think it's kind of similar to the people who are applying without being in the job before. So you still
yeah,
have to do the application and go through
yeah, yeah. Okay. Did you have to do any like online tests or video interviews or anything along those lines? Like if I was a candidate applying to John Holland now, do you know what I should expect to go through or what I might expect to go through from a recruitment
So
process?
for me, as I said, it was a little bit different. I
Yep.
don't do anything online. Everything was physical. I had to do it in person. Uh,
Okay.
but for a graduate who is applying for the first time, I think yeah, they still need to go through some assessment and interviews, online interviews and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. No worries at all. So now that you're inside the program, can you describe what a typical day or week looks like as a civil engineering grad at John Holland?
Well, I think it'll depend on different projects or doing it differently. Um, but for me, um, I get some task allocated to me at the beginning of every week on Mondays, typically like 6:30 or 7 in the morning by the senior engineers, and I list it down and write it down, and I had to take them off by the end of the week. So it will include for some stuff that probably technicals, but the graduates engineers probably would know about it.
Yep.
A bit of quality assurance, would do a bit of program review work. Like I did it today. I just did it before coming to this interview. So you have the program and go around and check out what's the status of the work. And site works, obviously, would do some activity methodology statements. They would write them down, review swims, and do some a bit of um, safety stuff that will be allocated to you by the safety managers or managers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now you said something there which broke my ears up there. You said 6:30 in the morning. That's a pretty sharp start. Is that standard? Is that your
Yeah.
choice?
Usually, the subcontractors are having their pre-start at 6:30 in the morning, so
Yep.
you have to make sure that you be here on time if they have any questions, and they'll come to the office. They'll find someone to answer the
Yeah.
questions. Yeah, yeah, it's usually early start for construction. Yeah, but
Okay. Early start. Yep.
it's different for all. It's not only engineer graduates. So you have safety graduates and commercial graduates. They probably will do it differently, but just yeah, I'm saying it on perspective of a civil engineer graduate.
Yeah. No, no, fair enough. Mate, how much of your time would you sort of spend physically out on site versus office based work?
I would say it'd probably be 50-50 for a graduate. So there's enough work for the for you for a graduate in the office to keep you structured and learn all this technical stuff, but you still get to go outside and check the work against the program, talk to the subcontractors, supervisors, managers, and workers. So I think it'll be 50-50 for me. Yeah.
Okay. And kind of leads me into my next question. It's around I guess, the structure of the overall grad program itself. I believe it's structured around rotations. And if that's the case, can you tell us a bit about how that works in practice?
I think I'm not sure about the other companies, but John Holland, I think it's a great initiative. Um, Again, it depends. It's different in every project, but for our project, it's the rotations are usually decided by the project manager. Obviously, he's consulting with the engineers at the beginning of the year. So they would say, now we would do 3 months of safety for this year, or 3 months of for commercial, and 3 months of engineering for site coordination. And that's how it's scheduled. But if you're keen towards something specific, that then you can have the conversation to your project manager, so he can extend your time to do the rotation. I think the good thing about it, the rotation is, the first you get to work in different teams within a project. So you will learn how to work in a commercial team. Obviously, different people. Safety is different. Um, you know, control dock, um, coordination, site supervision. It's all different teams that you get to work with them. So you get a good experience of building, also developing the communication skills with different disciplines for the project. In the meanwhile, it's you get a bit of taste of everything, even though you don't end up doing one specific thing. You will still be able to communicate with different disciplines a lot better at the end
Yeah, absolutely.
with your role. Yeah,
Yeah. Must be a really good way to meet lots of people in the business as well.
exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right. And mate, did you say that you do have a level of influence of where your rotations are, or how long they last for? Or is that all?
yeah.
So, I mean, you said the project manager might pre-decide it with you, but is that a discussion that takes place? So, look, I'd really like to spend more time here and hone my skills in this area.
Yeah, well, they definitely do. At least my project manager, he does talk to you like, hey, what's your goal? Like, even when I first had my interview at this project, he said, like, hey, what do you want to go in the next 5 years? Like, what do you want to see yourself next 5 years? And so in that very first conversation, I think he gets a taste of what you want to do, and so he's they're usually scheduling your uh, rotation based on your interest. Uh, but yeah, you definitely can influence it in how the conversation. I like this discipline more, and I want to go on with this. Um, and that's why I think rotations are very good too, because uh, when you first start as a graduate or undergraduate, you really don't know what you want to do until you get a bit of taste of everything, and and then you decide what you want to go with.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And now we're building on that. So, can we talk a bit about obviously you're the undergraduate in John Holland, right? So, talk a bit about that support structure. So whether it's mentoring, your manager, the elite careers team. What's your experience around the whole graduate program framework, and what does the support look like as a new grad in the business?
I think it was amazing for me from the very beginning, like starting as a graduate. So starting with the welcoming week, like we went to Melbourne, and we had heaps of support from the people's team. We got introduced to the business leaders and how John Holland works, the culture around it, and how can we support each other. Um, that was the first impression, and obviously mentioned about mentorship. Um, so when you start as a graduate, they will introduce you to a mentor, which are some amazing people, and they're very good, and they're very expert in their area, and they will always be there to answer your questions and direct you to the correct directions whenever you need help.
Do you have much interaction with the early careers team now that you're in the business?
Yes, I do. Well, we
Yeah.
obviously you can reach out to them always through the emails, phone numbers, and obviously Teams. Yeah, they're always available. I think yeah, I've had heaps of support. Yeah.
Right. Brilliant. Excellent. Matt, what's you sort of spoke to me about, the subcontractors on site. Obviously, you're on site as a grad, and you've got experienced team members around you. Yeah, what's site culture like? And it sounds like you had a bit of experience before coming into John Holland, but how do you find it integrating into a construction environment? Yeah, out of university.
I think it was separate. It's probably a bit different to university in a good way, of course. Um, so you learn lots of stuff in the job and in the office. So there is always people, especially John Holland, specifically in my project, a very good culture. Is no one tells no to you if you have any questions. Although you think it's a silly question to ask, but they always give you a smile and answer your questions. So I think it's very supportive environment in good culture with AD projects, and yeah, they're always available for the graduates.
Fantastic. And look, I used to work for a construction company, and so like in a general sort of people role many moons ago. I understand construction could often come with long hours, right? How do you maintain a healthy lifestyle or that sort of well-being outside the job in conjunction with the gym?
Well, I think good point. I think, yeah, construction could be long hours. Definitely, as I mentioned before, starting particularly at 6:30 in the mornings, and sometimes you finish at 5. But luckily, there's a lot of focus and good culture within John Holland for the well-being in supporting this stuff. So it's flexible. Like if you get tired, you can always go out, have a coffee, chat to someone, have a walk to the site and talk to the people who are doing the work, and obviously have your leaves, annual leaves and all that, and you can use it. For myself, like beside doing all that stuff, going out, having a coffee, chat to some people, sports and training, all this stuff that clears the mind. You always find a little bit of time to do all those activities that give you to clear your mind.
No, fair enough there, guys. So getting out and about and having something outside of work is always really important. Just to have that sort of separation if you need it. Now, with last couple of ones from me. So we're going here around, John Hollands is delivering some of Australia's most landmark projects, and without giving away anything confidential, what's it like to be part of something at that sort of scale? Like to have that, can you see your work having that direct impact?
Oh, absolutely. Like, especially at the project that I'm working on now, building a hospital. It's definitely a very direct impact to the people's lives, and it makes a difference. So with John Holland and like all the other projects that I see, no matter if it's small or big, it has definitely direct impact on the people. And you're building a hospital that will last for decades, and for the years to come, and you helping people and helping the community. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's something that I'm proud of.
So it's got to be really nice. Like, well, I can see my impact across possible. I know, like, I think it's very important to be able to say, this is what I'm doing and this is why it matters. So the fact that you can say it and obviously helping build a hospital is amazing. So I say it must be a nice feeling to go home at the end of the day. Even if it's a long day, just to know that what you're doing is a positive.
Yeah.
Mate, last one for me. Look, it's obviously getting into a grad job can be very competitive. There's lots of people, and a place like John Holland is high on lots of people's lists. And when I say people, I'm obviously talking about current university students. For those watching right now, if they're in the first year, second year, third, fourth, whatever it might be, what's some advice you would give to current students if they're looking at John Holland as a place to start their career?
I think the first thing is to not be afraid, be curious, and put your application on. And you never know. you'll get that call one day. You can start the work with John Holland. Yeah, I think even for me, even before coming to undergraduate program, I had probably the same nervousness. But I think these sex is always beyond that fear. So you need to take the courage and step up. Yeah,
Yeah.
work.
Okay.
That's it.
And do you think there are other, what sort of particular personal characteristics might thrive in John Holland, and what do you think, what sort of person might struggle potentially?
Mm. So I think once you come back from university to the real job side, automatically he will there's lots of egos, because it's a bit different. Because it's a bit different than the textbooks. So as I said, you learn a lot of things from the job side. So you need to be curious. You need to ask heaps of questions, and be ready to challenge yourself. It's you don't know a lot of stuff, but if you don't ask the silly questions, there's a lot of other people has that silly questions, and you never know that silly questions answers a lot of your questions, um, and that's how you keep going. And I think the one who would struggle would be the opposite character that is not curious, not challenging himself, and not asking lots of questions.
Fantastic. So my take is you're working on projects that matter. You can see the real impact of the work you're doing. You've got some say and some input in terms of the direction of your rotations and the direction of your career. You've got lots of support to back that up from people in the business, but also the early careers team. And for those who are watching or listening, get involved. Don't be shy. And now his top tip there's lots of questions and lots of the questions. And it sounds like at John Holland, people are always ready to respond and help you out when they need it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful part. Yeah, they're all supportive and they're always there to answer your questions. Yeah.
Excellent. No, thank you so much for your time. Look, that was really refreshing and honest account of what it's actually like to be a graduate civil engineer at one of Australia's most recognised companies. The insights you shared are exactly what our listeners need to hear, because I think it's so much more powerful coming from someone who's actually doing the job. For anybody listening, John Holland's grad program offers civil engineers a chance to work on iconic city-shaping projects from day one, and with competitive pay, the good rotation variety, the kind of experiences that you can't be replicated in a classroom. So, and they do offer obviously a range of other engineering roles as well. So it's not just about civil engineering. Check out John Holland's profile on our Prospal site for the latest job openings, graduate reviews, down the life stories, and application tips. That's all right for today's episode. Nawid, thank you again very much for your time. I appreciate your insights, and enjoy the rest of the day on site.
Thanks, mate. Thank you. Appreciate it.